I had this really interesting conversation with someone last night about how I read almost 300 books a year. And they said, that's crazy. And I said, I don't think it really is. And so I wanted to talk about reading a lot of books and kind of what counts in that and what doesn't, for anyone who really wants to increase their reading volume. So I will say, first of all, that I use a paper notebook to track all the books that I read. It's a reading log that allows you to record around 1,500 book titles. And so I do record all of the books that I read as physical books, whether they're the library or they are books that I've purchased. I also record audiobooks. And so we'll get to that in a second, but I do read a lot, listen to a lot of audiobooks, I guess, and I do count them as reading. And so that is an important kind of part of my strategy. And so I do keep track of that in my reading log as well. I do not count things like Blinkist or any of those types of summaries as a book, as I also would not list things we do as read alouds for homeschool. So in our homeschool last year, we read The Wizard of Oz. We read a lot of books. I don't count that in my personal reading log. I really wouldn't, like right now, we're reading the Odyssey. I really would not be reading the Odyssey out loud if it wasn't for my children. And so I don't count that. I also don't track it in Goodreads. The reason is I'm a really avid ARC reader. And so a lot of the books that I'm reading, though, are children's books, for instance, to my children, as well as cookbooks. And so I don't want that to kind of inflate my total. So some strategies that I think are really helpful if you want to increase your reading, first of all, is the audiobooks. So I listen to audiobooks a lot. I could listen to one or two a day, depending on the length of them. And so if I'm cleaning, if I'm walking, if I'm driving somewhere, and we drive a lot, so we spend probably 2 hours a day in the car a lot of the time. So I could really get through a lot of them. A lot of the work tasks I do, I can listen to audiobooks. If I'm exercising, we don't have cable or streaming services for television in our house. And so at night, my husband and I listen to different audiobooks, sometimes the same ones. And so a lot of the books that I'm reading are audio versions. Sometimes I have a physical copy at the same time, sometimes I don't. Another thing that I do is I have a Kindle and I have a Kindle Fire. So it has its own backlight. And so at night, if my husband is driving, for instance, in the car or he fell asleep, I'm able to read books that way. And so I don't miss a beat. I have obviously several going at once as a result of this, but for instance, I read 40 Year Kiss. I went to, don't tell my children, but kind of a boring children's movie, and I had my Kindle, so I was able to watch them, watch the movie, but really be reading my book. Another strategy I have is just having a book with me all the time. And so I will bring a book with me everywhere. Like it's, people bring their phone around. And I just, instead of scrolling my phone, I do read books. And so you'd be kind of shocked, how much you can get done, riding in the car, riding on a bus, waiting for your kid to get out of the bathroom. Those types of opportunities really dramatically increase the number of books that you can read. Another thing is one of the categories that I really like reading a lot of books in are really like these cozy kind of Asian stories. Think um, Hot Chocolate on a Thursday. And so these books are frequently under 200 pages. So that obviously helps as well. Just having shorter books, obviously you're not reading, 300 copies of War and Peace in a year. That's not really realistic. Although you could listen to it a lot if that's your jam. I will say also that a lot of even the cozy mysteries that I read are fairly short. Although most of them are probably just under 300 pages. And so I think it's a really noble goal to have that. Another thing that I think helps me, and I don't know if this is for everyone, but I get a lot of books from the library, and there are those inherent deadlines that I have to get, or I'm going to get a fine. And so if that means I end up staying up later to read a book to make sure I don't get that fine, things like that can happen. So I hope this information is helpful. I think that Reading is so relaxing, and if you really incorporate it more into your day, that's something that you can increase the amount of books